What a coaching matchup. There is Herb Sendek now on a short list of coaches who have taken 4 different schools to the NCAA tournament. The newly minted Coach of the Year in the WCC. And there's Mark Pope, coaching at his alma mater, year 2 last year, got them to the Sweet 16. It's been a little bit of an up and down season for Kentucky, Jim. The massive expectations, but they can put all that behind them if they can make a deep run through this tournament, as we are off and running here in St. Louis.
And you also think, too, with that point, Spiro, get off to a good start for both of these teams. That's the hope in watching games like this, that both of these teams play well, competitive, and we have a little fun this afternoon.
Chandler trying to get it going, a little too much. Offensive rebound pulled. And another chance. This is Oway ducking underneath. Offensive rebound. That is Moreno able to clean things up to get the Wildcats our first points.
Spent a minute talking about Oway already, but that was the type of style you're going to see from him. Putting it to the glass and then going after it as a team.
Santa Clara comes up empty. Kentucky, all the athleticism, trying to get out into the open floor. Aberdeen sets the table underneath. Yelovich outside Aberdeen. That's a 3. And a good offensive start for Kentucky.
Yeah, I actually thought Yelovich had a chance to just jump over the smaller player guarding him and make things happen, but a nice kick out to an open shooter.
This is Blanton Napper, the redshirt senior, all kinds of experience for Herb Sendek. One of the key pieces of this Broncos team that won 26 games this season. Napper crosses over, way off target. Offensive rebound pull, that's Ensminger.
That was an interesting rebound too, Spirit. You see the way that came off? It kind of hit the side of the rim into the backboard. It was a funny kickoff. Nice one to go get an offensive rebound on.
Oway, quick catch and shoot, quick release. And this hot shooting start for Kentucky continues.
And Oway has been playing so well in 13 of his last 15 games, 20-plus points. And Santa Clara just cannot lose track of him at any point on the floor offensively.
Kentucky, not one of the best three-point shooting teams in the SEC. Sirkis shot. Tony Padilla says no basket. Contact came before the attempt by Hammond.
So one of the things Kentucky wanted to do was come out and get a good start to this game, and they did with a couple of threes right off the bat. Aberdeen that trip.
Foul charge to Moreno, his first. You mentioned that offensive rebound in that last set offensively for Santa Clara. They're one of the better offensive rebounding teams off of missed threes. That's something to keep tabs on in this game as Napper on the attack.
Oh, that was pretty the way he went after a big guy and threw his body 6 feet tall. Really went after the big guy in that trip to the basket.
Kentucky Wildcats, most NCAA tournament appearances of any school in the country all time. Look at Chandler, picks his pocket. Takes it away from Mahi. Oway like a lightning bolt getting down the floor. And knocked out of bounds by Oboye. As we take a look at our advanced stats presented by Invesco QQQ, some of what we were just discussing, and this was top of mind when we spoke to Mark Pope, Jim, yesterday at Kentucky's practice.
Yeah, exactly, and they shoot the ball fairly well, too, at 35%, Santa Clara. So on their misses, they just continue to relentlessly go after the offensive glass.
This is Moreno, the talented freshman, working on the box. Obviously a huge focal point of this Santa Clara defense. Let's see who Tony Padilla gets here. Great officiating crew. Tony Padilla, Steve McJunkin, and Todd Austin. Coach of NCAA tournaments between them as Oboye is whistled for his first.
Well, Moreno has to think about catching the ball in there and going after the rim a little bit.
And then on the screen, that's Aberdeen. Unable to knock down the mid-range J. So Santa Clara trying to play through the early couple of moments of that hot Kentucky shooting. Again, the athleticism, Jim, the length of this Kentucky team. How does Santa Clara handle that as we get some early subs? And probably the best player on the Santa Clara team just checking into the game. Alan Graves, interestingly, coming off the bench. The redshirt freshman who has been a revelation for Herb Sendek this year.
Yeah, to answer your question, how do they deal with the length of Kentucky selectively, I think, is one of the keys. Drive it to the basket, look for bodies, but obviously kick that out to the point that we just made on the three-point shooting. So it's a combination of just playing smart and looking for the reads.
Sash Gavalugov has checked into the game for the first time. The redshirt freshman from Bulgaria.
Had a pretty good year, too, for a freshman.
Around the screen, this is Mahi, the first team all-conference performer. Soft touch and gets the friendly bounce.
Is it too early to say Mahi was fishing for a bucket just then?
Never too early, my friend. So Santa Clara within 2 or 3.5 minutes gone by. Early stages. Yelovich drives and kicks. Corner 3, too much from Chandler, and the rebound underneath by Gabalugov.
Yeah, both of these teams just looking to spray that ball out. And I thought there had been 2 or 3 opportunities for Kentucky early on to go up with it.
Graves misses on his first shot. Gabalugov gets a little floater in tight.
It was close to a 3, but to your point again, and we just mentioned this to repeat it, they go after missed 3-point shots. Most of them are soft shots, too, which are really reboundable shots, if you will, underneath the basket, maybe 5 feet away.
Chandler underneath. Brandon Garrison. This is Yelovich poked away. Chandler's going to pull. He still had 7 seconds to shoot. And the rebound corralled by Ensminger.
That's where they have to shoot that ball 5 feet away. It's imperative to get a couple of attempts, even if you miss them.
Santa Clara program in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 30 years. How would they handle this spotlight? So far, they're 4 of 7 from the field. This is Hammond. He's been their best scorer this season. A little bit short, and the rebound corralled underneath by Yelovich.
Oh, Graves at the mismatch there, too.
A beautiful drive to the basket. Tony Padilla is going to count the basket for away. So much electricity in his offensive game. Some of the early feeling out process. Kentucky and Santa Clara getting it on the big stage on CBS. Here in St. Louis, early 2-point lead for Kentucky. Well, he's been waiting for this moment for about 11 months a week, 22 hours and 17 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, John Rothstein.
Who's counting?
Hey, Spiro, happy March Madness to everybody out there. And these 2 head coaches today are no strangers to one another. Herb Sendek recruited Mark Pope out of high school when Sendek was an assistant coach at Kentucky in the early 90s. Pope went to Washington out of high school, later transferred to Kentucky to play for Rick Pitino. And obviously, these 2 head coaches went head-to-head in the West Coast Conference when Pope was at BYU, and Sendek, of course, was at Santa Clara.
So much respect between them. Mark Pope told us yesterday the first phone call he got from Kentucky, from that staff. And how about this photo? Wow. Look at Rick Pitino in the double-breasted suit. What a staff he put together back then. The first phone call he got was from Herb Sendek. Herb would eventually move on. Never actually coached him at Kentucky. John Rothstein, I loved it yesterday, asked him, do you feel better having a little familiarity coaching against Herb those 5 years in the WCC? He said, no, it scares me even more.
Pretty good lineup of coaches just then, too. With Billy, of course, Billy Donovan, we have to mention him.
Always going to reset. Shot clock is down to 5. This is Aberdeen, gets his shoulders square. So Aberdeen now 1 of his first 3. Jim, what have you seen so far the first 5.5 minutes of this game?
I've seen some open shots that guys are just not putting down until that point with Hammond.
Christian Hammond bangs in a 3.
But up to that point, they've been getting good looks both sides, but just not really putting them down. Maybe a little nerves early on.
That gives the Broncos their first lead. Last time Santa Clara was dancing, they had a point guard named Steve Nash running the show. Oway elevates from deep, and the officials are going to get Garrison over the back.
Yep, smack across the side of the head, too.
First round coverage of the NCAA Division I Women's Basketball Championship begins today on the ESPN family of networks. For more information on game times and listings, just go to ncaa.com. Feels like the Broncos, Jim, are starting to settle in really at both ends of the floor. This is Graves.
Yeah, he thinks he can score down low against most people.
Well, he's one of the most versatile freshmen in the country. Of course, a year where we've had so much star wattage with the first-year players. Certainly not as big of a name as some of the others around the country, but everyone's seeing him for the first time. Jim, we're going to see just how good he is from a skill set standpoint as we get the whistle here against the Broncos at the other end of the floor.
Diabate coming through the middle, and a couple of guys surrounding him just then. Who could have been the second guy? Was it Graves who was the second guy in there possibly?
So that is the second personal on Graves, and that is a huge call early in this game. It's still 13 and change left to play in this first half, so Graves has to sit.
The worst thing that can happen to a player in a game like this is picking up those early foul troubles. He's been on the court a couple of minutes only.
This is Cam Williams. Was that long layoff with the broken foot, returning for the SEC tournament. This is Diabate. Broken up, taken away.
Yeah, Kentucky has to understand that Santa Clara is going to be down there when they get those post-ups. One, maybe two, if not third guy might come in. Tough backdoor cut right there, too. Spiro just too far under the basket to make anything happen.
Cherry Darlin, KJ Cochran have checked into the game for Herb Sendek. Gustavo Lugov tracked down by Darlin.
Well, one of the reasons that they get offensive rebounds on those shots is nobody retreats the half court.
Gustavo Lugov turned back. Excellent interior defense by Brandon Garrison.
Yeah, need a 6'7", a 6'10" guy down low, and you're going to have some troubles.
For a smart pass, Oweh inside. Garrison. A chance at three for Kentucky.
Well, plays at both ends of the floor for Garrison. You'll watch his timing on this play as he just sits back and then waits for the elevation. Not a real difficult block. And then here's that little cut to the basket. And once again, the rotation by Santa Clara. They bring a small guy over, a shorter guy. Easy for him to just go right up and go over people at 6'10".
Kentucky Wildcats, the massive expectations, really a perennial thing. Number 9 in the preseason AP poll. They had spurts where they looked brilliant, but the inconsistencies that marred this team was a headline all season long as Oboye misses from three, and the rebound is controlled by Kentucky. Wildcats, the final month of the regular season, Jim, were a sub-500 team. How quickly can they put it all together here against this very talented Broncos team? Beautifully done on the drive and the attack. It's Garrison.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Santa Clara, very talented basketball team, but I like the way Kentucky has come out aggressively, shooting the three, but also now trying to make a little switch in game here, going towards the paint a little bit more frequently.
Hammond working against Chandler.
Yeah, guards are having trouble getting past the guards on the perimeter.
Officials are going to say goaltend Ensminger is going to get credited for the basket. And everyone's going to catch their breath with 11 and change left before halftime.
Yeah, be careful when you go in there against Garrison, but here he comes right down the middle with a nice little lefty touch off the glass.
All right, Mark, how have you gotten some easy baskets there the last couple of minutes?
Yeah, so they're pushed out pretty well, so our guys have done a nice job kind of getting the rim. They've still got to be physical when we get there and meet it. Right now, I like what we're doing on the defensive end. We're communicating well. We just got to clean up the long shot, long rebound a little bit, but our guys are playing well.
Appreciate it.
All right, John, Mark Pope trying to erase some of the recent NCAA tournament struggles before his arrival. Last year, of course, got them to the Sweet 16. Jim, how far can this team go? That's what everyone's wondering right now in Lexington.
They always wonder about that. There's always the pressure of making a good run, and he said that was part of the reason he took the job. He just loves the fact that there's an expectation, and to John's interview with him, I thought it was great that he covered all the 3 points too. The drives to the basket, be physical, like right now, let's see if they are. Nice physical drive after a timeout.
Boy, Garrison, what a start for him, just gliding beautifully to the rack to get the Wildcats the basket.
And to Mark Pope's other point, it was down this end of the floor. Let's see if we can track down those long-term offensive rebounds off the 3-point shots.
Hammond, beautiful crossover. So both teams right now struggling from three. And again, off the missed threes for Santa Clara. Some issues for Kentucky protecting the defensive glass as Cam Williams is whistled. Watch every men's game live on your computer, phone, tablet, or streaming device with NCAA March Madness Live. Download now to stay up to date on all the action.
I'm glad we brought that stat up early because it's kind of working its way into this game in the first 9 minutes or so.
You're always pressured, my friend. Always out in front of the storylines.
My sources say.
Napper's going to reset. Santa Clara 1 of 8 from the 3-point line. This is Oboye.
Yep, might have gone off him. Yep.
Jim, clearly that length for Kentucky has been an issue right now as Santa Clara commits its second turnover.
Yeah, watch what it does. It stops you just for a second. You know, when you're down low and it's Oweh was down there in the double zeros, 6'4", strong, stopping you from going to the basket. That gives you a little time to get help from your teammates for the double teams. It's working here too also at this end.
Chandler on the three, can't hit, so Kentucky hit their first couple from deep. Good start, but they've cooled off a little bit now. 2 of 8 from the three-point line. Santa Clara, top 25 in terms of offensive rating in the country. One of the most efficient offensive teams in the field. Shot clock down to 8. Napper, little hip check. The officials are going to get Aberdeen with the contact just as Napper was starting to enter the paint. We mentioned some of the issues that have plagued this Kentucky team, some of the inconsistencies. The biggest reason, Jim, have been these injuries. We mentioned Cam Williams, Jalen Lowe, that shoulder injury. He was lost for the season in January, and Jaden Quainton's still not quite ready to make his return from that knee injury.
Yeah, and guys who are going to be impact players, impact type players, it affects the whole rotation in terms of what's happening. No response here on the outside shot. Wow. Kentucky fell asleep on the perimeter on that entry pass just then.
Herb Sendek, Jim, coming back with Graves with 2 personals at the 10-minute mark. What do you think?
He must have a whole lot of faith in him, because the problem is that he's a young kid playing in the NCAA tournament. I'd be really careful if I were him the way this could shape out in terms of the way he plays, too, Spiro. So I'm questionable on this decision right here.
Diabate just masterful.
And I'll just add to that Graves at both ends of the floor is the type of guy who will mix it up and get in the middle of things. So he's just got to be very, very careful and be patient for the offensive side of the floor also.
See how Kentucky, how aggressively they play against him at the other end of the floor.
See if they're going to give it to him, too. They got him on the floor for a reason, and here it is, a little post-up. Let's see if some help comes.
Interestingly, Owe is the man defending. Ensminger steps out. Well short, fight for it. It's Graves getting his hands dirty. And the officials say jump possession arrow favors the Broncos.
So here we are over here. Where's the defensive pressure on this inbounds pass? I would say not too much. It's almost as if they didn't realize they had the ball to trigger it in. That's how fast it was and how open it was.
Elijah Mahi, 34% three-point shooter, a senior, 12th in the West Coast Conference in scoring this season.
I'm sure you noticed that when Graves was in that last sequence underneath the basket, he got held a little bit. He pulled away. He dove for the ball. That's a guy with 2 fouls, so that's to the point that he's going to mix things up a little bit, but he has to be very, very careful.
Well, you find out just how much a coach trusts his player.
Especially a young guy.
Mahi comes around the screen, defended by Owe, into the paint, sealed off, 7 to shoot. Ensminger on the attack. This is Darling. This is Badley. Fight for it underneath. Possession arrow is going to give it to the Wildcats.
Well, you know, it's interesting there. I mean, it's a small thing. The shot clock was just about down to 0, so they were going to lose that ball in a turnover. But now they lose it on a possession arrow, which is a kind of a positive of a negative play. At least you get the possession arrow coming back your way and not giving it up for anything.
Kentucky Wildcats, 21-13. Going 10-8 in SEC play. Finished tied for 7th in the conference. That is Owe. He was their star, face of the program, and he's got 7.
Yeah, keep in mind, about 65% of his shots in half court will end up close to the rim, as we just saw there.
Graves feeling the body pressure against Moreno. Goes glass.
And see how he goes searching for bodies just then. He's a terrific player. But that's the type, if somebody just stands still on him, be careful with that drive in terms of picking up a charge possibly. But nice move on his part.
That's going to be a fun matchup between those 2 freshmen, Graves and Moreno. That's Chandler, corner pocket 3, no.
Nice tip.
Heady play, you're right, by Ensminger.
Yeah, 2 tips just then.
So Kentucky now, Jim, is 2 of 9 from the three-point line. Mahi, little bump from Yelovich. Look at the footwork, the spin, missed it.
I like that, though, because he didn't settle for that shot from the outside. When you look at Mahi taking a shot from long range, about 34% on the season.
Moreno triple team for a moment, going to shoot anyway, and he's going to get himself to the free throw line. The 2 teams shooting a combined 4 of 19 from deep.
And we've spoken about Oweh. Watch him get his shoulders around and then turns those shoulders with the power going to the basket.
As a look at our game summary, 7:26 left before halftime. A massive call just before the stoppage as the officials giving that last Santa Clara foul to Allen Graves. So his third, he has to sit as we now check in with John talking to Herb Sendek.
All right, Herb, Graves just picked up his third foul. How do you respond?
Yeah, we're going to just have to step up. Fortunately, he doesn't have his fourth or fifth yet. But a tough call there for us, and he'll keep his head in the game.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, John. Jim, look, Herb Sendek's been a great coach. No one wants to second guess him. That was a huge gamble to come back into the game with his young freshman, and boy, it backfires.
Yeah, and Spiro was, and John, it was about the 10-minute mark, too, when he brought him in. And sometimes, and I'm not going to question him because coaches know their personnel all season long. They have faith in certain guys. I think it's a difficult decision, and obviously he's just demoralized right now. To Herb's point, he's got to forget about it and get ready. He's not going to get in until the second half for sure.
And look, not the end of the world. Still, you know, 3-4 point game depending on his free throw here as Moreno misses on the second with 7 and change left.
How about Herb's answer too? Doesn't have his fourth or fifth yet, so it's a positive way of looking at it for sure.
Herb Sendek, always a picture of cool, that composure that has made him famous.
Last act.
Shot clock at 10. This is Hammond now a little bit more on his plate with Graves to the bench. Lob pass, a little bit of a shove.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Contact, everything is running.
I thought there was a shove in there also for him to lose his balance cutting through the lane. An early big possession for Santa Clara to get some rhythm at their offensive end. Kentucky doing a very good job of closing down and paying attention to their scouting report against the Broncos.
Officials are going to get Oweh a little bit of a shove, minimal contact.
Yep. There you see it, right in the middle of the floor. Chandler had his left arm, but Aberdeen's not looking over his shoulder, worrying about the foul call and no foul call down the other end, that's for sure.
First on Oweh, now 5 team fouls for both of these two teams. As we are under the 7-minute mark now left in this opening half in St. Louis.
Pretty good hit out front.
Hard collision. Going to reset. Gavalugov going to fire, deep shot. And Jim, they just can't seem to find their stroke from deep. They're now 2 of 11 from the outside.
Yeah, and I know he's a good shooter at 36%, but that's a little bit of a force in my opinion.
Oweh elevates.
Yep.
And Oboye strong on the glass.
Maybe a little time to take somebody off the bounce on the perimeter.
It's going to be an illegal pick.
Yep.
Buki Oboye, young redshirt sophomore out of Houston, Texas. That's his second personal. And that'll be the 6th team foul. The best to ever play the game are back for the milestone event. Light your torch for the biggest Survivor season ever. Survivor, new CBS Wednesday, 8/7 Central, and streaming on Paramount+. Spiravitas, Jim Spinarco, John Rothstein, rest of our CBS crew here in St. Louis. Second full day of the tournament. Aberdeen, corner 3. Offensive rebound is pulled by Moreno.
Perfectly positioned, but not with the pass. Good cut pass.
Ensminger going to push. Transition 3. Gavalugov, big shot for the Broncos.
Yeah, just a little bit more of an aggressive stance on the offensive side. And guess what? You beat Kentucky down the floor. You don't have to face the length that much.
And Diabate, the southpaw, has the answer for the Wildcats.
Only 19% too on the season. Spiro shooting it. Last game, though, he had a couple for them with a little bit of a set shot from that long-range distance.
So here's Gavalugov, had that memorable night against St. Mary's in the semis of the WCC tournament. Beautifully set up that time as he gets it to Oboye for the deuce.
And we saw a couple of times the Santa Clara guards go into the basket and trying to challenge the big guys. And if you don't have a body against the big guy when he's moving, he's going to really snuff that shot out. A beautiful decision just then to drop past that off for a layup.
One possession game as we are inside of 5 minutes left. Oweh steps back. Little mid-range J. And Otega Oweh now 3 of 6. And trying to fight his way to the box.
Yep, that's where he had to be careful.
Chandler gets him. Excellent defense by Chandler, who's done it at both ends of the floor. Poked away. Kentucky sloppy with it. Ensminger is going to try to get the timeout. Heady play. as Santa Clara will retain possession. Wildcats and Broncos under the bright lights. 3-point game on CBS. Back with you in St. Louis, 4:27 left to play as we take a little peek at our tournament summary as we took off this second full day of the dance. First tournament wins ever. Nebraska, how about High Point? And last night, what a performance by St. Louis. Just a crushing win over Georgia in that game.
I mean, how many people saw that one coming? And then obviously Carolina, North Carolina giving up that 19-point spread that they had on VCU.
Anytime the big headline right now for Santa Clara, Allen Graves picking up his third personal. Probably their best all-around player at the 7:26 mark of the half, so likely done until the intermission.
Yep. Conference first team player, so a significant loss.
Mahi on the box, defended by Jasper Johnson. Well done, and then Diabate gets him, and Tony Padilla blows the whistle. Contact on the shot attempt as that Kentucky contingent voices its displeasure.
I think Mark Pope thinking the same thing. Was, you know, you see that coming down. He hit the ball, then right across. Well, the ball's still in his hand there, trying to get a shot off. He scrapes him across the forearm to the elbow.
That's why we never question Tony Padilla. So Mahi's going to get himself to the free throw line. Young man who grew up in Toronto, 2 years at JUCO at West Valley College in the Bay Area. And what a piece he's become for Herb Sendek as we check in with John.
Well, Spiro, something that should be pointed out about Santa Clara, it's obviously a very volatile climate right now with tons of moving around in college basketball. 6 of the top 7 scorers that are currently on Santa Clara's roster were in the Broncos program last season. Jim, that's incredible retention in this climate.
John, I agree with you 1,000% on that one. In this climate, guys are hitting the transfer portal very frequently, and that's why you get continuity in teams who can keep their players like this, usually have a pretty good season and build a culture at the same time.
Diabate misses on the 3. It's all part of the uniqueness of what Sendek has built. 2 years ago, they didn't have a single player enter the portal. They were one of a small handful of teams in which you could have said that as Hammond drawing contact against Chandler. 3 and change left before halftime as we come down the home stretch. Late stages, first half from St. Louis on CBS. That was round 1, but you've been putting in the work for your team all season. Celebrate making it to the tournament with an ice-cold Coca-Cola. Packed house here in St. Louis. Excellent turnout for both of these fan bases. Wildcats, of course, traveled as well as any program in the country. There's Mark Pope, senior captain on Kentucky's national championship team in '96 behind Rick Pitino. But consequently, the last time that Santa Clara was dancing in the NCAA tournament, hard to believe, 30 years ago, that team led by Steve Nash. All these years later, it's Pope against Sendek, with the winner trying to advance to the round of 32.
And Spear, one other point, Oboye has 2 fouls, and Herb Sendek has made a decision right now to not have him on the floor. I guess learning that little bit of a lesson early on with Graves with his 2. Going the other way on this one.
Offensive foul, so a Kentucky turnover as we throw it over to John.
Well, Spiro, you were referencing, obviously, Mark Pope's history at Kentucky. We've talked about Herb Sendek's history as an assistant at Kentucky. Both men, obviously, are very, very close to Rick Pitino, who coached Mark Pope and mentored Herb Sendek. I talked to Coach Pitino earlier this week, and I asked him, what is it like to have your former assistant facing off against your former captain in an NCAA tournament game? And he just said, John, it is beyond special to me, Spiro.
You know, no doubt keeping close tabs on some of his disciples as the Broncos, Jim, come up empty on that trip.
Yeah, they're getting squeezed. The guards are really getting squeezed defensively by the taller players on Kentucky when they get into the paint area. They have to make some different decisions.
Away on a 3, so Kentucky really cooling off from the 3-point strike now. 3 of 13 for the game.
And just to mention with the ball right now, Oboye has the 2 fouls, so Herb Sendek has put him back into the game.
Corner 3, no. And the Wildcats that time protect their defensive glass with Garrison. But if you're Herb Sendek, Jim, you're considering Graves went to the bench at the 7:26 mark. Right. Santa Clara was down by 3. They've actually now tied the game. That's a 3. It's Aberdeen. that pretty three-point stroke to put the Wildcats in front.
Yeah, my initial reaction to it, Spiro, is I think I'm playing the minutes game right now in terms of what's left on the clock.
Ensminger turned back. Boy, how big has Garrison been?
He hasn't gotten them. The block shots. He's really been there a factor to make Santa Clara as a team look for him in the blocks.
Garrison and Oboye got a fingertip on it and a save underneath by Hammond.
So my point a second ago was play the minutes on the clock. You know, you have a close game right now. I think the foul is the most, not getting a foul would be the most important stat on the stat sheet right now.
Mahi steps back and connects. And we are tied again. 10 for Mahi. A lot of people felt like, Jim, this was one of the more intriguing first-round matchups, and so far,
I was just
these two have not disappointed.
Just thinking the same exact thing, Spiro, on that. Both score at 80+, good hands with the tie-up.
Nice defensive work by Mahi. Possession, gonna get it to the Broncos. And we remind you, coming up, AT&T at the half will get you to our studios, all the scores and highlights, plus the very latest NCAA tournament news. It's all coming up on AT&T at the half.
Yeah, and there's one of those little things in basketball. Remember, what was it, 10 minutes ago, they lost the possession arrow when they were shooting the ball. The clock was going to go off. They lost the possession arrow. Now they get it back with a minute and change left. Get an extra, maybe a 2-for-1 opportunity here. We'll see if it factors in or not.
Mahi, excellent defensive close by Diabate. Shot clock still at 17. Mahi, beautiful footwork, short, excellent defense. Diabate, offensive rebound. Let's see what they say here. Tony Padilla is going to get the Wildcats. Looks like it may be Aberdeen underneath.
Yep, I think so.
It's going to be a bonus situation now and a 1-and-1 for Santa Clara.
I have to say, Oboye was right in the middle of that mix again. Watch for number 12 jumping in there right there. Close to going over the back, and I agree with Herb right now. He's going to exit to the bench.
Jim, we wondered what this matchup would look like. The offensive efficiency of a team like Santa Clara and Kentucky, for all their talent and the athleticism, as Ensminger, young man born in Germany, struggled in that WCC tournament final against Gonzaga, just 3 points, but he has bounced back awfully nicely and has been very good at both ends of the floor.
He's had a very solid year for them, especially prior to the last 9 games where his numbers are down a touch, but overall, a terrific year and giving Santa Clara a 2-point lead to boot.
First lead for the Broncos since the 14-20 mark of this first half.
Notice Aberdeen keeping that right hand out there to keep the defender away from him.
Aberdeen, deep shot, missed it.
Nice board.
One-handed snatch by Mahi. Mahi looking to push as the Wildcats streak back into their half-court defense. Mahi now against Moreno on a switch as we are inside of 40 seconds. Reset, Gavalugov.
Once again, this is their second possession after that tie-up, so let's see if they can put something on the board after 2 free throws.
5 to shoot. Mahi.
Somebody's got to go.
Gavalugov elevates. A little bit too much fight for Diabate. And now the Wildcats can hold with 13 seconds.
Santa Clara with 6 fouls, so they have to be careful defensively. And let's see if they go right about now. They got to go.
Broncos are out of fouls.
Nice
Aberdeen. Hammond with the rip, and that's going to get us to halftime. It's the 7th Kentucky turnover as we get to the intermission here in St. Louis.
And did Hammond ever time that correctly? A little drift away by Aberdeen, but he steps right into the fray. And with that double team, you pick up that dribble and you're in trouble if you don't hang on to it.
John Rothstein standing by with Elijah Mahi.
Elijah, how do you guys have a lead?
You know, we're just playing out hard out there, trying to play hard every possession, trying to get them stops, trying to push it in transition and hit shots.
What do you have to do in the next 20 minutes to pull the upset?
Keep playing hard, keep doing what we're supposed to, do our job, and we'll come out with the win.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. God bless.
Spiro.
All right, John, the Broncos dancing for the first time in 30 years. And right now, so far, so good as they take a 2-point lead into the halftime locker room. We'll get you to AT&T at the half after these messages. You're watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. beautiful 80-degree day, nothing but sunshine here in St. Louis as we sit in for the final 20 minutes, Santa Clara and Kentucky. As we look at our first half stats, sponsored by Wendy's. Kentucky held scoreless for the final 2 minutes and 29 seconds as we sit in for the second half. Spirit Leaders Jim Spinarco will hear from John Rothstein in a second. Biggest first half takeaways. What are the keys in the second half?
I think it's the lack of three-point shooting, as we just saw 6 for 30 for both of these teams combined. I think that's one of the things to look for. Who gets a hot hand, and also with Kentucky not getting out in the races in terms of transition. Only 2 fast break points. They average about 16 per game. So we'll see what happens if they can get untracked a little bit.
All right, a couple of seconds ago, coming out of the Kentucky locker room, John, with Ortega Owe.
All right, Ortega, what was the biggest point of emphasis in the locker room?
Just that we have to rebound so we can get out in transition. We're getting the stops. We're doing a good job of guarding the initial, action, but we just got to finish it with a rebound.
How much has their positional size bothered your offense?
I think we're getting a lot of good looks. I know they're a really good defensive team. They're good at gaining the gaps, but we're getting a lot of good looks. We just got to hit them in this half.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, John, good stuff. Here comes Owe on the attack as the officials are going to put him on the free throw line. The one other statistical takeaway, Jim, in that first half, Kentucky during the season, one of the best fast break teams in the country, 16th in that category. Just 2 fast break points in that first half.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, they haven't been able to get it and go. And, the balance, Herb Sendek's team has been very, very good, not allowing that transition energy to get going. And I think that's the guy right there, Graves, who we had a quick shot of. When will he come in, and how will he really react to being saddled with 3 fouls in that first half?
He picked up his second personal less than 10 minutes in. And then at the 10-minute mark, Sendek rolled the dice, brought him back into the game. He picked up his third at the 7:26 mark of the half. And now that Alan Graves' watch has officially begun.
This is where they've had some problems, over-dribbling for the guard position and then getting stuck in the middle of the floor. So good release just then.
Mahi was the Broncos' best player in the first half. 10-point shot clock at 2. No whistle. Mahi spinning. Cash money.
And I like the no call also just then. Pretty good position just then defensively, but not enough of a bump to call an offensive foul for sure.
A little bit of a defensive gamble by Chandler, who's been really good so far in this game. That's a Kentucky turnover. Errant pass by Owe. A little bit of a miscommunication with Moreno. And then the foul in the transition. They get Moreno his second.
Part of this trick here is to bump a little bit to get yourself not only a guy to fall down. That's the best case scenario, but you go at him. It's pretty close, but he doesn't. If he extends that left arm on that play, Spear, I think it's going the other way. But because he does not, upstairs.
Beautiful setup, exquisite pass, Oboye. And this is the Broncos' biggest lead of the game.
A little bit of a bounce in their step collectively, too, after that.
A lot of people are watching the Santa Clara team, Jim, for the first time. There's nothing fluky about this bunch. This program that has seen really a 5-year ascension with what Herb Sendek has built. As we get a whistle in the interior, and another look at that clever pass by Hammond.
And you go right around the corner. There wasn't even a screen out front. It was just an exchange, but perfectly delivered.
That's the 3rd personal against Oboye, so another potentially big call for Herb Sendek. Everything he's considering in front of that Santa Clara bench. So Ortega Owe, the young man out of Newark, New Jersey, a senior, SEC preseason player of the year, just named 2nd team all-conference for a 2nd straight year. Pope telling us yesterday just what a massive load that young man has had to carry on his shoulders all season.
And I love the way he plays in terms of challenging people off the dribble. Nice step in there by Chandler.
Chandler with a nice hard finish. So the Wildcats punching right back.
Yeah, Chandler may have thought that the guy behind him was going to try to come back and try to get a hand on that, but he convincingly went after the rim.
First points for Chandler, missed his first 5 shots, but a guy who's impacted this game in a lot of different areas. Oboye, beautiful roll to the basket.
And that little slice cut timed so well. Last 2 trips down the floor for Oboye.
And right now these two teams look evenly matched. Oway trying to force the issue to the basket. Yelovich offensive rebound. Oway from the corner. Big shot for Kentucky.
We've spoken about the second chance opportunities that Santa Clara was getting on the long ball rebounds, but nice work by Kentucky on the glass there.
Mahi catch and shoot three. That's way off. Wow. Moreno able to save, but his pass hitting the bottom of the glass. Tough break for the Wildcats. And a fresh 20 for Santa Clara.
Nice step in there, as I mentioned before with Chandler. Now watch, he's thinking there might be a chance at the rim for him somebody to go after him. And then after a second chance opportunity, Kentucky comes away with one with Oway. Variant one from long range.
So Alan Graves has checked into the game for Herb Sendek here. 3 personals. All eyes on him right now for Broncos fans. And that prayer is answered. A chance at 3 for the redshirt sophomore out of Denver. And he's put the Broncos back in front.
Well, he's been eagerly waiting to get on the floor, I guess you could say, and made that happen with that drive to the basket. Only 6 minutes and change in the first half. And it made him think a little bit as to whether it was going to drop.
3rd personal against Moreno, Jim, so that's a huge call against Kentucky here. As he's going to stay in the game at least for the moment. Let's check in with John.
Well, Spiro, you mentioned obviously, and Jim, that Christian Hammond has been waiting for his turn to get on the floor. Both Christian Hammond and Alan Graves redshirted last season, so it's more than retention. In this transfer portal climate, Herb Sendek has gotten players to redshirt and wait their turn, Spiro.
Chandler dials it up on a corner 3. And interestingly, both of those guys were healthy red shirts and elected to stay in the program. Nice interior defense as Napper was turned back. Aberdeen transition 3, and he buries it.
Transition being the key word just then, Spiro. Up tempo a little bit. Make a mistake if you're Santa Clara on the offensive end, and now Kentucky has that bounce in their step collectively.
So suddenly Kentucky starting to cook from that 3-point line. Hammond turns the corner, the C's parted, pretty little floater.
Yeah, that's one of his high points of his game, getting into the lane and getting it off quickly. Not like in the first half where I think he had 1 or 2 extra dribbles from time to time.
So both offenses starting to sizzle here. 2-point game. Just over 4 minutes gone by in the second half. Oway steps into a deep right-wing 3, missed it. Wildcats now 7 of 19 from deep. And it's their first miss of the half. They're 3 of 4.
I like the way Herb Sendek substituted and brought Oboye out of the game when he brought in Nelson. He didn't want to have 2 guys, or Graves, I should say, 2 guys on the floor who have 3 fouls at the same time.
This is Napper. Nice little hesitation maneuver. And the rebound is pulled by Yelovich. Here comes Oway, knifing it, boy, right to the basket.
Didn't you get the feeling he was going to do that right at half court? Just keep going. We had a pretty good angle of watching what he was seeing on the floor, and the left side was wide open for him.
Otega Oway now up over 1,200 career points, most by a Kentucky player over their first 2 seasons in school history.
Good work on the glass again for Santa Clara.
Think of some of the players that have come through Kentucky's program that's saying something. As Hammond controls. Chandler trying to stay in front. Hammond, a spinning, whirling dervish, missed it back rim. And this tightly contested game now 4-point Kentucky lead with 14 and change left in regulation. Winner of this one advances to take on the winner of Iowa State and Tennessee State. Yelovich, pretty hesitation, and then missed it.
Yep. Graves was as the defender just then. He could have just gone right after it because Graves stayed away with his 3 fouls that he's playing with.
Well, Yelovich won't get a better look than that.
No, an opportunity lost just then for Kentucky.
Christian Hammond, young man, 30 in the program. Averaging nearly 16 per game. Graves in the box. Aberdeen on his back. Graves double. This is Mahi from deep. Too much. And Yelovich clears.
Well, he had a layup down the other end if they saw him.
Oway was open. Chandler's going to pull. So Chandler's shooting struggles continue. Thought that he was fouled down low, Jim, as he barks at the officials.
He sure did. He thought he was hit. That was pretty long range, quick shot though too. A little bump and getting away with stuff. It's nice. Oh, here we go.
Smart pass, Mahi to Ensminger.
See if you're patient enough on the half-court sets as Santa Clara was just then. Well done to get a bucket, forcing Kentucky to take a timeout to talk things over.
Santa Clara absorbing Kentucky's blow, and they answer. Mahi carving them up as this second half continues from St. Louis on CBS. So tense moments between these two coaches. The chess match, two men who go back a long way. Herb Sendek, Mark Pope. Pope got the Wildcats to the Sweet 16 last year before their dance ended. What do these final 13 minutes and change look like for these two teams? Aberdeen resets. This is Owe in the corner, taking Hammond baseline, and Tony Padilla blows the whistle. They're going to get Hammond on the reach-in foul. And everyone's going to catch their breath again. 13:06. So much at stake for these two programs here in St. Louis on CBS. Game 2 of our quadruple header here in St. Louis is coming up next. Iowa State, Tennessee State, both teams arriving for duty. And the anticipation, all the emotions in the stomachs of those players. And we are looking forward to that matchup coming up next here on CBS. So 13-minute mark. Garrison coming heavy.
They ran a couple of screens off him on the looking for exchanges to hand it off. Nobody took the ball from him. He figured, I'm going to just take it right down the middle myself.
And the officials say offensive foul on a legal pick. And Brandon Garrison, holy smokes.
And here we go, bang. Nobody stepped up to take him until the very end, but the defender out front, they were just fooled by the fact that they were going to exchange the basketball, hand it off at some point.
Former McDonald's All-American Oklahoma State transfer. That last contact, that last whistle, by the way, against Cherry Darlin on the illegal pick. So does that Garrison dunk jumpstart Kentucky? Good ball movement into the corner. This is Owe. Aberdeen, the fake, the fire, splash!
Little rhythm on the offensive end. Kentucky now spreading the floor very nicely after that dunk. And a big set for Santa Clara right now at the 12-minute mark, just to try to slow down Kentucky a bit.
Beautiful little crossover maneuver. Gabaluga, that is a giant shot for Santa Clara. Just as the Wildcats had built their largest lead. So it's down to 4 as we cross the 12-minute mark left. And things starting to heat up.
Early games sometimes just are dictated by how you can slow the momentum. A little reach in just then from behind.
Officials are going to get Oboye, and that's going to be his 4th, though he may have to sit.
And the shooting picking up a little bit. Away to the corner for Aberdeen's jumper. And then it'll pull up against the big guy for long range.
Getting a little hungry here in St. Louis.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Something multicolored. Whoa. 11:45, little contact. Gabaluga was pushed. Owe turned back. It was Graves who got a fingertip on it, and then a loose ball foul against Kentucky.
And Graves may have taken a hit also on that. Got a fingertip on it, I think, with the foul. He may have taken a shot. Maybe it was right there on the screen. And watch on the block. Yep.
So we sit in for the final 11.5 minutes. Santa Clara with possession, down 4. The Broncos in the tournament for the first time in 30 years. Trying to keep their dream going. Mahi with the lay-in.
And did you notice that last dribble? He got down to the floor, a real slow, a quick dribble off the floor, very low to the floor, I should say, making it happen. So nobody got a hand on that play.
Aberdeen, who's had to slide over to the point with some of the injuries that they've had this season. He's been one of Mark Pope's most invaluable players all year. Shot clock at 5. Little stagnant. Chandler inside. The Abate up in traffic, and he goes glass.
Nice decision by Chandler also. Sometimes you're a guard out front like that. You sense the clock winding down on you. Your first instinct is let it rip with 3 seconds on the clock, but an extra pass for a bucket.
This is Gavalugov running the point now for the Broncos. Shot clock still at 11. Mahi gets a Graves screen. Graves still playing with 3 personals. Mahi's going to pull a high arch at 3, and he connects.
Bring a little rain down with that one. My goodness, was that up in the air?
That one's scraping the ceiling. Mahi's got 17. And we got a 1-point game here in St. Louis. Always going to reset Garrison up top.
There's a mismatch down low.
Officials are going to get Gavalugov trying to defend the Abate on the box. With 10:07 remaining. You can watch whip-around coverage of all men's games with Fast Break, presented by Home Depot in the NCAA March Madness Live app. And Jim, that's the 6th team foul against Santa Clara, so they're out of fouls left to give here with 10:07 left.
You know, that's one of the weaknesses of them throughout the year in terms of giving up almost 20 fouls per game.
Chandler elevates a little bit short that time. Rebound Mahi. So Kentucky now is 8 of 22 from the 3-point line in this game.
I think that Kentucky would maybe try to dribble this ball towards the basket down the other end to take advantage of that fouling situation.
Chandler 1 of 8 from 3. Mahi the spin, beautifully played by Diabate, getting the fingertip on it.
Sure it was. He forced him to the baseline too.
Away, that pass, Emsminger got it. Loose ball, Diabate. And now they're going to reset Away. It looked like Away may have got Hammond with the flail of the arm. No whistle, couldn't finish the dunk. And Santa Clara is going to get possession.
Well, I know Graves was a factor there. I'm not sure. I don't think he got him, though, coming to the basket. It was very, very close. And you're right. I think he just readjusted in midair, something I never had to worry about.
1-point game. Santa Clara with possession, trying to retake the lead right here.
Did they get Graves involved a little bit?
Graves walking it tight. He's bumped. It's on Garrison.
I think he has to get more touches. You know, he didn't get his touches in the first half because he only played 6 minutes, but I think you got to get him some touches over the next 3 or 4 minutes. He's tricky with the basketball. Nice drop step here, and he just really tries to put a shot up that wasn't going to be made, but making sure that the officials knew that he was shooting the ball early.
Redshirt freshman, young man who grew up in Louisiana, authoring one of the all-time program seasons in the history of Santa Clara. All WCC first team. He was freshman of the year and 6th man of the year in the West Coast Conference. What a season that young man put together. Every bracket buster and every buzzer beater. CBS Sports HQ has your tournament highlights plus wall-to-wall coverage across the sports world, streaming free 24/7.
Yeah, and he's had 10 or more points in 17 out of the last 18 games, Spiro. So he's a guy that they rely on. It was unfortunate for Santa Clara with the foul problems that he had in that first half. Can play a little bit more freely now. Oh, there's an easy one.
Hallway coming around a screen. Easy deuce for Kentucky star.
Great work. I think Kentucky has really changed their attitude in the second half here. They're not turning the ball over. They're shooting it a little better from long range. And consequently, they're getting layups like that because they have to protect, Santa Clara does, to protect that 3-point strike.
Hallway now with 11 of his 18 in the second half. This is KJ Cochran, hasn't played much. Gavalugov, mid-range. Jay, cash money.
Really was. Nice turn, too, with the shoulders just then to get that shot off its stride. Nice game going on here with good pace. Both teams reacted on the offensive end and looking for opportunities, and we're going to go down the other end right there.
Officials get Garrison, and that's going to be his 4th personal.
And number 10 right in the middle of the floor.
So that's the 5th on Kentucky, Jim. So that means they've got just 1 more to give here with 8:17 left.
Pretty easy to call those when they're right in the middle of the floor, huh? All eyes. Yep, 0-0.
This time it'll be Away as we check in with John.
Well, Spiro, Sash Gavalugov now has 10 points in this game. That is a great sign for Santa Clara. The Broncos 7-2 this season when he scores in double figures. Obviously had 23 in that big win against St. Mary's, Jim, in the West Coast Conference Tournament that put the Broncos comfortably in the field.
Yeah, and John, the thing about it, too, he's coming off 8 points against Gonzaga the last time out, where he was only 2 for 9 from the three-point stripe and 3 for 13. So you're absolutely right, John, in terms of getting him on track, a big, big plus for Santa Clara.
Young man who grew up in Bulgaria, watched that 2018 NCAA tournament, became a fan of the Wildcats, eventually started his collegiate career at Villanova, and now has found his way all the way to the West Coast, trying to lead this Santa Clara Broncos program.
I like the way he protects that basketball when he's dribbling to make sure that his defender doesn't get in front of him.
Gavalugov cooled off a little bit in that WCC tournament championship against Gonzaga, but he was red hot. 23 in the semis against St. Mary's. That huge late three. What does he got up his sleeve? Here he is. Connects.
Does he know what stage he's on right now?
He's a long way from home.
Wow.
Not wilting under the bright lights. As the whistle blown here, the official's going to get a reach-in foul. The Broncos in front by 4. And that Broncos contingent making themselves heard here in St. Louis. All right, Jamie, same side of the bracket. There's these two teams here, Texas Tech, Akron. One of the matchups that a lot of folks were looking forward to. As Mohamed Diabate, 1-1 now for Kentucky. Jim, what are you thinking about here? 7:47 left in a three-point game.
I'm thinking on the Santa Clara side that Graves should get involved and get some touches. You know, he missed most of that first half, missed about 14 minutes. I would not be surprised after this timeout and this free throw down the other end that he gets an opportunity to touch this ball, especially on the blocks.
So Diabate steps up to the free throw line. 2 huge free throws to cut it to 2. As we play with 7:39 left. Santa Clara and Kentucky in the 7-10 matchup in the Midwest. Christian Hammond, their #1 scorer, going glass, missed it. Well played by Chandler. Way off and running. Little Euro step contact, and he's headed to the line. How did he finish that play?
One of the interesting parts, too, Spiro, about that play was Graves was on the offensive glass and tried to tip it back to one of his teammates, but it ended up in Oweh's hand. It was almost as if it was an outlet pass to him to get him going in the right direction. And does he know how to finish at the rim? As we said earlier in the game, about 2/3 of his buckets in half court come around the rim, and that was clearly around the rim in transition.
Mentioned Owe cooled off a little bit. There's his mom, Tanya, his grandmother, Francesca, seated to her right. Nervous moments for that family, but boy, how proud they must be. What a player Owe has become.
Nice catch. What a catch.
Graves, and then he's turned back. Diabate doing some defensive work.
Beautiful delivery to the post. Watch the catch. He looks away with the pass, and then the recovery defensively just spectacular.
Still 17 to shoot. Graves going to get him reset. This is Ensminger. Again, the Santa Clara team, number 23 offense in terms of offensive rating in the country. Ensminger dials one up from deep.
Boy, just very comfortable, too, shooting the basketball in the season at 39%. Almost looked like a half a set shot, you know, in the backyard.
Santa Clara back in front as we are inside of 7 minutes. Here's Diabate.
Good close defensively and good help also.
Diabate misses a fight for it. Mahi looking to push. Here comes Hammond. Boy, nice hands defensively. That's Cam Williams with the takeaway.
The secondary guy has been a factor for Kentucky.
Owe, what's the call here? Tony Padilla says charging foul.
Going to the line still.
So 1-1 continues. Herb Sendek looking on.
Yes, he never really establishes defensive position right there. He's moving, but watch his upper body, and then just an easier call for the officials along the baseline just then.
Just consider how good Owe has been. Up until that loss to Florida in the SEC tournament, he had hit 20 or more points in 13 of their previous 14 games. Misses the free throw, follows it up, gets it to Williams, is going to pull. Splash!
Great recovery there by Kentucky and Oway to get that extra possession. Santa Clara on the missed free throw, kind of everybody looked at the ball, but nobody went out and got it.
Cam Williams, only his 4th game since returning from that 7-week absence with a broken foot. 50 days that he was on the shelf, and what a huge shot for Kentucky.
Yeah, unfortunately for Hammond, he went into the basket towards the baseline, and the ball kicked out past him.
Inbound to Graves as we move into the 6-minute mark. Lugov hounded by Oway. Here comes Graves barreling to the cup, and he flicks it up and in.
There's another touch for him. They've looked for him 2 out of the last 4 times down the floor. I think they have to continue to go to that well.
Half dozen for Graves, only his 2nd field goal of the day. Saddled by that first half foul trouble. This is Diabate faces mismatch with Hammond. Lefty finish, got it.
Just way too strong for Hammond to deal with him down there. Just a power move to the basket. Good entry pass, too.
Diabate, last couple of years, 2 Elite 8s and a trip to the Final Four. As part of that Alabama Crimson Tide program. Trying to get the Wildcats to the round of 32. Mahi, boy, little sleight of hand, and then Diabate gets him from the back. Boy, how good has that young man been with his defense down the stretch?
Fabulous, and also the closure by Kentucky was terrific. Well, I got to wait there. Graves reaching a little bit.
Oway weaving through traffic. 23 for the senior out of Newark, New Jersey.
Who do you want touching the ball? This is what Santa Clara has to get.
Graves pulls. Back rim, Diabate, the loose change. 6th rebound for Diabate. But still a 1-possession game with 4 and change left. A season of ups and downs, the massive expectations for Kentucky. Do they have enough to stave off Santa Clara? Oway, long 3, missed it, Lugov.
3 Kentucky players had a shot at getting to that ball, and none of them came up with it.
This is Mahi as we're inside of the 4-minute mark.
You don't have to settle for 3s now because you're down 3. That's it. Drive it towards the basket and jump over somebody if you can.
Mahi, little pirouette, missed it. Offensive rebound, Graves, and he's going to shoot free throws. Again, Mark Polk talking about the offensive rebounding prowess of this Broncos team. We got a 3-point game in St. Louis. Wildcats and Broncos on CBS. Game summary, 3:41 left in regulation. A 3-point lead for Kentucky. Some of that interior defensive work now starting to become an issue for Santa Clara with a Kentucky shot blocking prowess. And Allen Graves to the free throw line for Santa Clara, shooting 2, Jim, with a chance to cut this thing down to a point.
Dan Spiro, I go back to when John Rothstein asked Herb Sendek that question when he had 3 fouls, remember, at the half? And he said, how are you feeling about that? And he said, well, he doesn't have his 4th and 5th, which I thought was a very positive answer. And who does he have at the line right now without his 4th? Graves.
I'll get complete coverage of the NCAA Division I Women's Tournament at ncaa.com. More than 30 years ago, Herb Sendek was an assistant coach in Lexington on that Rick Pitino staff. And here he is all these years later, coaching Santa Clara against the Wildcats. Incredible. John, you were eavesdropping in on his timeout huddle.
Yes, Spear. Herb Sendek and his staff were very, very encouraging to Santa Clara in that last huddle, praising the rebounding and also saying, guys, we are playing at a high level offensively in the second half. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, but we have to rebound, Spiro.
Broncos trying to show the country, prove to everyone that they belong on this stage as Oway misses from deep.
And John, I would just add to that, what they have to do also is not allow Kentucky to drive this ball to the basket at the other end of the floor. If they can keep them out on the perimeter, their chances are better.
Graves turned back, it's Garrison. Just magnificent paint defense.
Sure was. The timing of it was fabulous.
Garrison has been a huge piece off the bench today for Pope. As we are inside of 3 minutes remaining. That was the 8th block for Kentucky.
I think Graves thought he at least had that up on the rim. That's a tough pass.
Garrison trying to thread the needle to Chandler. 11th Kentucky turnover.
I think this game is going to be decided by who gets it to the middle of the floor into the lane and try to get to the free throw line.
Where you can cut the tension in this place with a knife right now as Ensminger. Couple of fakes. Diabate, nice job not to bite. 8 on the timer.
He's going to go with it here.
This is Graves. First team all WCC. The foul. They're going to count the basket.
Yep, I think that was off the glass, wasn't it?
So a chance at 3 for Graves. And now they're going to say no basket. Boy, Tony Padilla was pointing as if he said count the basket.
Or was there no foul?
Yeah, now they say no foul,
yeah.
so no contact.
Ball clearly hits the glass, Spiro, so that's the right call on the goaltending, but I don't think there was a bump.
So initially Padilla said foul +1, count the goal. Then they conversed, changed it, no foul. Boy, what a gigantic sequence that is. So Kentucky with possession, down a point with 2:04 remaining. Oway body bumping, and he's fouled.
Good smarts by Oway just then. That's exactly what we were talking about with John a moment ago. Can they stop this drive to the basket? Because if there's not a foul there,
whoa, boy, that looked clean from that vantage point.
Yeah, that one was clean. I thought they got the guy from behind on the foul.
Double bonus now for Kentucky. 2 free throws. And look at Oway, the player that he's become. 3rd player with 25 and 5 in multiple games now in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Already has scored the most points in program history ever by a Kentucky transfer. As that last foul was charged to Ensminger.
Yeah, because to your call, Spiro, that was Hammond that we got a real good look at. He was in front of the play, and Ensminger was behind it, and that ball would have gone the other way because it would have been off the Kentucky player just then. So good reaction, good work by the officials to get the right guy with the foul.
Oway's 2nd year in Lexington, first 2 years of his career at Oklahoma under Porter Mosier's guidance. He has tied this game with 2 minutes remaining. 9 ties, 15 lead changes in what has been a back-and-forth affair.
Welcome to Friday in the tournament.
The madness has officially begun.
Can't imagine that Graves is not going to get a touch somewhere in this.
Ensminger on a reset. This is Mahi. He will fire. Way too much. Graves is there. Soft touch.
He didn't get the direct touch, but he worked on that offensive glass. Let's go back real fast, Spiro, to the first half when we brought up how often they respond on rebounds on missed 3-point shots. Long shot. They get that one on an air ball for Graves to catch and go to put them up 2.
Chess match between these two coaches who know each other so well. Game reset with 1:25 left. Santa Clara 3 timeouts left, 1 for Kentucky as we check in with John.
Well, Spiro, Mark Pope just told his team, guys, we just have to make a play on this possession. Let's make it work. Just go out and make an offensive play. We're right where we need to be, Spiro.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, John, that this ball has to touch the paint. If you get it drive, go with it, but get it there. Make something happen in the paint and kick it out if you don't have to drive to the basket with Aberdeen with the ball.
One thing to keep in mind, Wildcats are in the double bonus. This is Aberdeen knifing into the paint. Outside Oway, he's their star.
Well executed, though. Get it to the paint, make something happen. Now you just play it straight up defensively if you're Kentucky here.
Let that drama build even more here in St. Louis. Santa Clara in the tournament for the first time in 30 years.
And a red-shirted freshman dictating traffic, number 2.
Gavaluga elevates, missed it. Last touch by Moreno. What a break for Santa Clara as they'll get a fresh 20.
Gavaluga gets a great look, too. A little pull-up 8-footer. And I think he's shaking his head saying, how did that not go in? And they regain the basketball with 20 on the clock.
Or they could potentially make this a two-score game and get the clock down close to 19 seconds. Boy, that would really put Kentucky up against it.
That's why I love that shot that he just took. They didn't settle for a three or a bad shot. Some isolation action for Graves.
Graves, first team All-WCC. Oh, he has been brilliant. Misses point blank. Fight for it. Who's got it? The officials are going to say timeout, Kentucky. So they determined that Oway had possession, and it was Garrison who got the attention of the officials, Jim, for the timeout.
And Spiro, to your point, Herb Sendek right there is saying the same exact thing. Does anybody have possession of this ball yet? Maybe.
So close. As your game reset, critical call just a moment ago as the officials giving the timeout to Kentucky. Looked like Oway had possession, Jim, just for a split second.
And right there, back there, Chandler's coming back. There's one other player out of the sequence there who I think was calling timeout for Kentucky. So regardless, Herb Sendek arguing Mark Pope will take the call. Very aware play, though, by Kentucky as a five guys on the floor helping one another.
Boy, give Brandon Garrison, if they somehow win this game, all kinds of credit in that sequence. And here we go. 2-point Santa Clara lead, 17 seconds.
Same message, trying to get something going towards the basket.
Chandler gets it to Oway, the spin, elevates, lays it in, and we're tied.
Spiro, now you sit on it if you're Santa Clara.
This is Gavalugov. Graves elevates, buries it. 2.4 Oway. He got it. Ortega Oway has just etched his name in the March Madness lore. Miracle shot for Kentucky. And we are tied in St. Louis. Just breathtaking.
You can't make this stuff up, that's for sure. Does he get it off? I'm seeing .2 on that shot clock when the ball left his hands. And let's not forget on this shot, Spiro, watch where it goes in. It doesn't go in clean. It goes in off the backboard. Wow, you can't make it up.
It is the stuff of dreams from Ortega Oway. Going glass with their season hanging in the balance. The officials are at the replay monitor to determine if it indeed got out of his hand before the clock hit zeros.
We had a great shot from behind there of him shooting it with the shot clock in frame. Talk about the wild swings, huh?
The officials have not given us the official sign, but they have confirmed three-point goal and a miracle shot from Ortega Oway, who has been the star player for Mark Pope all season, gets this game to overtime in St. Louis. The Broncos so close to advancing, and now they'll put 5 more minutes up on the clock. Everyone's going to catch their breath on CBS. Back with you in St. Louis. This overtime made possible by Buffalo Wild Wings. March Madness mayhem here in St. Louis. Allen Graves putting the Broncos in front, and then Oway just inside half court with a miracle bank, and we're headed to the extra session.
You just do not see that many quick hitters in 3 seconds or less like that. What a fabulous finish to regulation.
Jim, we thought this one could be potentially special. 7-10 in the Midwest. How good Santa Clara has been. Everyone knows about Kentucky. But my goodness, these two teams have lived up to the game's billing. Oway into the paint, elevates up over the top, misses badly against Oboye. Jim, take us back to that last second sequence.
From a player perspective and a team perspective, shot in the air, look to your right, look at the bench. This one's ours, this is over. Sendek is trying to call timeout, but the ball gets put in play beforehand, and that's why we're able to see that wild moment and finish by Oweh.
Chandler's got to work quickly. Shot clock at 3. Elevates back of the rim. Everybody offensive rebound taken Garrison.
Everybody blocked out, but nobody went after the basketball.
Aberdeen resets now to Chandler. 11 to shoot. Aberdeen steps back. That's a deep 3. That misses badly. So cold start to the overtime, and Diabate off the save by Garrison.
Beautiful work by Garrison just then.
Jim, how big has Garrison been in this game? Oweh taking a little bit of contact.
And Spiro, the first 2 possessions there are handled by Kentucky. They're shooting the ball from long range. I think you got to test the waters in overtime. Coming down the stretch, even though I know 2 3-point shots got us to overtime. Get it going towards the basket, make something happen. Great catch there.
Mahi elevates and connects.
You see the difference when you bring the ball to the basket. Kentucky in that situation has to fill the middle of the floor. A great time to kick it around the horn because they can't recover that quickly. Not many teams can.
Here's Diabate, puts it on the deck underneath Insminger. Just masterfully done by Diabate.
And I love that little hesitation. He's not rushing through it. He's an experienced player, and it showed on that play to hold that ball a little extra.
There's Gavulugov underneath, poked away. Nicely done by Garrison, deflected out by Kentucky. And the Broncos are going to have it with 18 to shoot.
There you go, around the horn, wide open shooting. So after you penetrate a little bit, and you watch him hold on to the ball. He says, I'm not going. I'll give you a little bit of a fake. Then when you come down, I'll be under control.
There's Gavulugov, who was the hero in the WCC tournament semifinal win over St. Mary's. 23 points in that game. Turns the corner, goes glass, missed it. Look at Graves. Hammond from deep. Fight for it underneath. How well can the Wildcats protect their glass off those missed 3s as the officials get a reach in here against Santa Clara?
Gavulugov just then swiped down. Watch when he goes in for this ball. Ball is in possession. Then he comes in, he goes down on the ball. If he's going up, he's probably going to get away with no foul on that, but he clearly comes down on him. Just a mistake by the youngster.
So Kentucky stays in the double bonus. Continuation of the regulation tally, and Brandon Garrison to the free throw line. 64%, Jim, on the season. Not his forte. Young man who has been so good. Not sure where the Wildcats would be without him in this game.
Spiro, as you're blocking out right now, you want to make sure that you're getting good guys and somebody going out in front of him in case it comes back. There you go. You got to be ready for that kickoff.
2 critical misses. And Kentucky's lead still at a point. We're in overtime in St. Louis in the 7-10 matchup in the Midwest.
Get that ball in the post. If you're Graves, go with it.
Gavulugov buries a 3. And Santa Clara just will not go away. The Broncos back in front here in overtime. See the 3-point tally. And the urgency ratchets up even more.
Size advantage here down on the post. Will somebody come and help him or not?
Diabate, pretty spin, couple of fakes, lays it up and in.
That is a heck of a move just then from an experienced player. Even with the double team coming at him, which he knew was going to head his way. A great answer by Kentucky.
Can you just consider the big games that young man has played the last couple of years? 2 trips to the Elite Eight, the Final Four with Alabama.
Nothing rattling him, Spiro.
Inside of 2 minutes left, this is Graves, mid-post, double-teamed. Mahi's gonna fire, short.
Coming down to crunch time again, my friend.
Can't ask for more than this. Kentucky and Santa Clara. If you've just hopped on with us, Kentucky more appearances in the dance than any program ever. And Santa Clara dancing for the first time since '96.
Test the paint if you can. This guy can do the paint. He can test the paint for sure.
Oweh to spin, and they're going to get Hammond on a reach in.
Smart play by Oweh again.
So the Wildcats with a chance to retake the lead. Oweh, the 73% free throw shooter, to the line for 2.
Yep, it's the right call, too.
in what has been a career day for Owe. 31 points, with most of his damage, Jim, coming since halftime.
So big right here at the line. 73%.
There's his mom, Tanya. His grandma, Francesca, seated right next to her. Can't imagine the emotions.
The nerves are rattling.
Young man grew up in Newark, New Jersey. However this game ends, this game he's going to be thinking about a day he'll be thinking about for the rest of his life.
Clearly, I agree 100%.
66 seconds, and this crowd in St. Louis rises to its feet.
Small versus big out here. Should be able to go by him if he gets closer.
Gavrilugov dances. Garrison got him.
Got to get it dunked right here.
And Kentucky up 4. And another monster sequence for Garrison. And now the Broncos staggering into the corner.
Spiro, when you have a small versus big guy out on the floor like that, the percentages are better for you to try to set him up and go by him. He decides to shoot over him. It doesn't work with the deflection. And when you're a big guy like that and you block the ball, as Garrison just did, what do? You go off to the races.
Gene Steratore telling us off air that he thought that they missed the travel in that last sequence. So a break potentially for Kentucky. And now everything that Herb Sendek is thinking about as we take another look at that sequence. 48.5.
Oh, nice catch, Gene.
If you're Herb Sendek now in that timeout huddle, Jim, what are you thinking about as you bark out instructions?
But just looking at that replay, Gene Steratore was right on it from the studio. Fabulous call by you, Gene. I can't come back and review that, though. Now you're looking for I'm looking for the quick hitter going towards the basket. I just like getting the ball to the paint, Spiro, under these circumstances. Try to get yourself to the two things. Try to get yourself into the lane and stopping the clock. And obviously, if you can get to the free throw line, that's the third thing that works.
Kentucky Wildcats were 2 seconds away from having their NCAA tournament end after that Graves 3. Always prayer three-pointer to beat the buzzer. And now they've scored 6 straight in overtime, up 4.
And I would want to get this opportunity done in about 8 seconds or so. So there's 40 or so seconds left on the clock. You don't want to rush it, maybe 35, but you have to get it going quickly.
Shot clock at 6. It's Garrison again. He has been a defensive demon. The Abate up, missed it, but he's going to shoot free throws. Contact from the back. Just can't sing Garrison's praises enough. Always going to get the shine, and deservedly so. But Garrison, Jim, has been monstrous.
But the back-to-back decisions to try to shoot over them and shoot over him, just not good decisions by their young red-shirted freshman. Gabaluga.
So here's Mohamed Diabate. So the other amazing story about this young man, he's a practicing Muslim, so the Ramadan fast ended just yesterday. He'd been fasting during daylight hours since the middle part of February, so this is the first day since mid-February he's been able to eat and drink during daylight hours before a game. And boy, he has had all the strength he's needed.
Yeah, he sure has.
In what has been a huge performance for Kentucky. And now desperation mode for Santa Clara.
They know they need a 3.
Hammond elevates, misses badly. Insminger. He'll shoot in the corner. That'll keep him alive. 18.9. Timeout taken by Herb Sendek as that slices the deficit in half.
Not going away yet. I'm not putting this one in the books on either side yet after that end of regulation.
I think we've all learned our lesson.
Watch him run out to the corner, though, and he waits, and gets a nice look to go.
Ensminger, huge in that first half, has quieted down since, but a big shot to keep the pressure now on Kentucky. Broncos down to their final 2 timeouts, 1 left for Mark Pope. See the double bonus situation for Kentucky, I beg your pardon. And what a thriller we have had here in St. Louis. Otega Owe, just brilliant today for the Wildcats.
In a variety of ways with his 33 points, 11 for 24 from the floor. This is okay to end regulation. Banking it back. So in a big possession right here for Kentucky, can they control the ball? Can they break the press? Because you know with this, with 19.2 seconds left, Santa Clara has no choice, obviously, to come up full court and look for a trap. Now keep in mind, they do have the possession arrow, Santa Clara. So if I'm them, I'm talking to these officials and saying for the first 3 seconds, I'm coming in looking to grab the ball and tie it up. I'm not looking to get a foul in those first 3 seconds. You got to use that to your advantage. And then after 3 seconds, you just want to chop away to stop the clock.
19.2.
You can run the baseline too, Spiro. Just
it'll be Colin Chandler, the inbounder. Throws into Owe.
Okay, so
there's the quick foul taken by Mahi.
Smart by Owe too to catch that ball and turn and run. So he didn't allow anybody to double team him to get that possession there.
Otega Owe, 8 of 10 at the free throw line, 33 points. And what has been a dream performance in this opening round of the Madness.
I always like to watch the guys who run to the ball in those situations, saying to themselves, I want it, I know I'm going to get fouled, and I know I'm going to get to the free throw line, and I'll try to win this game for Kentucky.
Just think of all the injuries that the Wildcats have had. Let's put all the pressure on the shoulders of this young man, and boy, did he respond all season as he knocks down both.
Need the quick hitter here, Spiro.
Gavligov, Ensminger is going to elevate, front rim, missed it. Rebound, Kentucky. Aberdeen, the exclamation point. Final seconds as the officials are going to get Garrison on a reach-in foul. And 2 seconds left. Garrison is going to foul out with that whistle. As his fantastic day will end. But as big a part as anyone on that Kentucky team, are they going to be moving on, Jim, to the second round?
And I'm sure Mark Pope was saying jokingly to him, "Hey, you're not supposed to foul there, but boy, did you make 2 great blocks in the last minute of this game."
And just think of the expectations on Mark Pope's team going into the season. Preseason top 10 in the AP poll. They had those bursts of brilliance, but the up and down season that will all be forgotten, at least for the next couple of days, as they're going to be moving on to the weekend here in St. Louis. In the meantime, what can you say for Santa Clara? Jim, last time they were dancing, Steve Nash was their point guard. A dream season for them will come to an agonizing end here in St. Louis. The Kentucky Wildcats are dancing into the round of 32 here in St. Louis. The Broncos were 2 seconds away from a potential advancement, but it was Otega Owe answering with one of the all-time shots in the history of this tournament. 89-84. As we revisit the frantic final seconds of regulation.
And frantic as it was. You look at the shot clock up top. Ball goes through right now. 2.4 seconds. Santa Clara feeling pretty good. The shoulders going forward to get a little more oomph towards the basket. They get it to go off glass. And we go to overtime. And Kentucky put together a nice 5 minutes there. Team play and making it happen to secure the win.
That's the stuff of legends for Otega Owe. What a moment for that young man. As the Wildcats are moving on, they'll take on the winner between Iowa State and Tennessee State. Game 2 of 4 coming up next here on CBS. John Rothstein standing by with the hero.
Otega, have you ever been in a better game than that one?
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. That was probably the best one yet. That's what March is, though. All the best games happen at this time of the year, and it was a blast. I'm just glad we got to pull it out.
What was going through your head during that final 3 to tie the game at the end of regulation?
I was trying to get as close as possible to, make the shot, and I don't know, it just went in. It's March Madness. That's the type of vibe it is. I ain't gonna lie.
35 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Why did you play your best when it mattered most?
You feel me? Yeah. We don't want to go home. We ready. Like, we try to keep on going. We got a run we try to make. And, I mean, that's what had to happen for us to keep on going.
Appreciate it. We'll see you Sunday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Spiro.
What a performance by Otega Owe as he leads the Wildcats into the second round as they'll await the winner between Iowa State and Tennessee State. Tournament games continue live on True TV, TNT, and TBS. Tennessee State and Iowa State is next on CBS. We'll send you to our studio for Capital One Tournament Central after these messages.